So we came up with this idea of using a very familiar technology and methodology called segmentation, and applying that, instead of applying it to an audience and the people, applying it to the ads. In other words, how people react to advertising, segmenting the ads themselves into categories of different emotive reactions.
Why did you think to segment them like that?
We developed a methodology called ACT, which is a way of testing advertisements in copy testing. This norm database delivered such rich insights. Really, it was because we had the data available to understand whether we can learn something more fundamental than just looking at a single ad at a single point in time and taking the trends across this base into something more predictive for future advertising copy.
7 categories that have been created as part of this methodology. How did you describe them and define them?
So we came up with this whole idea of looking at only the emotive reactions, since there's so much work that proves emotions are fundamental in the way that people react and respond and behave and make decisions. We called them the 7 emotive ad segments. They look at things like amusement, boredom, and fundamentally what we were looking for is the way in which these ads on these emotions pull out very differently. So I think the unfortunate thing that we found was 41% of ads didn't actually create any sort of emotive reaction, and that rings true. Unfortunately, if we look at the way in which a lot of advertising is done, it's not necessarily setting out to create an emotive reaction. This is a big learning, because if we look at things like amusement, if we look at things like inspiration, instead of just being positive, these things also can have quite negative effects on, for example, liking, brand linkage, and understanding. There were also some clear winners. We saw love and happiness as an emotion pulling out quite strongly and predicting very positive effects for the ads.
That's very interesting. And then what is the way forward for this methodology? Are you going to market it around to agencies or?
Yeah. So currently the plan is twofold. Firstly, it becomes a standard part of our ad testing approach, in the sense that we can now take any new ad that we've tested, apply this algorithm, and understand into which segment this ad falls. Now that allows us to then pull learnings from the database and tell the client something interesting about the likely effect of what this ad can potentially do in market. The second thing that we're doing, even at an earlier stage of development, is briefing agencies a lot better, exposing them to this way of thinking about segments instead of people, ad segments, and then asking the question, if we had to give you a blank canvas and try to express the creative idea behind this, on which of these segments would it fall? Would it be more of a love and happiness, more of an inspiration? And certainly we want to steer them away from things like neutrality and boredom.